Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Sifu Messiah. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links can be found in the description for anything we discussed during the show, so let's get on with it. So this week we have the usual 10 for the chairman and around the verse. January's monthly report is out, Arena Commander 1.0.2 is dropped, and there is a new design post revealing new information on the shields. Plus, find out if you're the winner of the Mustang Gamma giveaway. So, as usual, there was 10 for the chairman, and he started by talking about he will be visiting DICE. Now, DICE are the people that make Battlefield, for a chat about Star Citizen. It will be live streamed. I'm not sure why he's speaking to them. I don't think he said really why, but hopefully we'll be able to see the actual chat that he has with them and see what it's all about. He also mentioned that the FPS module will be coming in March or shortly thereafter. And social shortly thereafter. Now, obviously, these are the dates they expect to. It may get to the date and they'll have to push it back a couple of days or a few hours, but March is when we're expecting it. So next month we can be running around in Arena Commander. That is going to be awesome. So anyway, let's get to the questions. So the first question was regarding custom crew uniforms and whether or not you'll be able to have your own uniform for your crew on your ship, or maybe you can make them yourself. Chris says that yes, there's a plan for outfits you can wear. Obviously, you can buy uniforms and also you can customize the colors of clothing, etc. But you can also have decal swapping. You can have decals, I expect, he says, on your uniform. So you can have your organisation's uniform decal and then hand it to someone else, once they join your organisation. So he does say you can have jumpsuits and all sorts. So even if you're like the mechanic on your crew's ship or on your friend's ship and you all wear a uniform, you can have the jumpsuit with a decal on. And each role can be filled with each different uniform. But I think you can buy whatever you want from the shops, clothing-wise, and you can all get the same thing and make it look like a uniform. So that's pretty cool. There'll be uniforms everywhere. So the next question was about Banu and Jan embassies and whether or not there will be such things. And yes is the answer, but as of sort of 1.0 of the Persistent Universe, you can't really interact with them. He says they'll be on sort of like the fringe world planets. As the game grows, you'll be able to visit alien planets more and more as they develop them. And you can see Banu in the street. You'll meet with other races, not just the Banu. Obviously, some trading posts will have Banu, they'll have Jan. They'll even have Tarians. And you can meet with them all in the streets and do some trading. Well, I mean, not in the streets, but at trading centres or whatever they use. It's not just a human universe, he says. So, question after that was, will there be missions designed for more than one ship? So, for example, the same job offering a cargo delivery, will it require like an escort ship? So maybe you could have friends taking on the role. And Chris Roberts said, yes, definitely. There will be like cooperation mission trades, like take 20 tons from A to B, but then there may be like a mission also relating to that job. So let's say a factory is having trouble with pirates and he needs like a good trader to come and bring the supplies they need, but also he'll put out this factory will put out another job asking for escorts or mercenaries to come and help escort the ship. So you may be the pilot who's taking this 20 tons of cargo, but there may be some other real players who have taken on the mission to escort you, so you can get to know these people and maybe even link up in the universe and help each other out in the future. It's a good way of meeting people in that way. And this will be jobs generated by NPC sort of modes or whatever you call them, factories. So the next question relates to inventory. Basically, how will it work? He said, will we need to buy warehouses throughout the verse to store fuel, weapons and goods, etc.? Or will it just be like a console where all the inventory is available? And also, is there a cap or a limit to how much you can have in your inventory? And so the way Chris explains it is sort of think literally like the real world. I apologise for my rabbit jumping around in the background. We've just let him out and he's going mental. Anyway, he says just like the real world. It won't be unlimited inventory. It will be dependent on what you've got, what you're wearing. So there will be a cap. So your cargo hold will have its own inventory. You as a person will have your own inventory. For instance, may have 2 pockets in your trousers, and then you'll be able to fit certain size items like that in there. We've talked about this last week with backpacks, and again, backpacks is mentioned in this. If you have a backpack, you can fit so much in there. There's going to be a cargo design post coming out, very similar to the Moby-Glass design post. So I shall be covering it in just as much detail as that one, where basically it just explains everything about how cargo, the containers and all this sort of different cargo containers you can get and how it'll work and how they're all sized appropriately to work in this big world. So the items you take out of your pocket, which could be your container, put it into a big container that will fit into a ship cargo hold, which will be its inventory, and it just goes so on and so forth, and it's all physically based as well. So the items, dimensions and weights will have an effect, and obviously there'll be certain scales like size 1, size 2, so you may be able to fit 2 size 2 items in one trouser pocket and same in the other, whereas for your backpack they may be able to fit 10 size 2s or maybe 2 size 8s, or, you know, just however it works. Also, if you have something in a hangar on the other side of the persistent universe, then you don't have that with you, so if you need it, you'll either have to buy it again or acquire it somehow, you know. And I mean, this will open up another job. If you could if you need a certain ship or a certain container that you've set aside, maybe you have like a bounty hunter container or an escorts container which contains certain weapons that you think you may need to use in that scenario, you can have them set aside at your base and then maybe put out a job saying I need someone to collect my container, say container A, and transport it to here where you are. And that could create a job for either an NPC or for a real player. So you know, it all works in tangent with each other. So the next question is there going to be purchasable voice packs for ships, which is your ship's speech system. So when it boots up and it says, "Welcome to Drake Interplanetary," and all that sort of stuff, you can have different voice packs. And it says, yes, there will be in fiction voice packs. There'll be male, there'll be female, very much like your navigations, communication sort of thing. The question did ask whether there'll be celebrities' voices, and he said he can't say. And to be honest, I don't know. I don't know if I would want that. If I had Morgan Freeman telling me that there's a missile coming, I would be sort of miffed because it would take me out of the fiction, really. I don't know. I'd probably chuckle to myself and forget to press countermeasures. Anyway, let's move on. So, can organisations be hired by governments, is the next question. Chris Robert says, yes, definitely. They have stuff that involves whole organisations, like missions. So if a factory wants goods, very much similar to the last one, to the other question, but if a factory wants goods like a pirate's attacking, there could be a job for an organisation to sign up and protect the trading lane. So it won't just be, I need this person, I need 2 ships to protect the trading lane, I need a whole organisation to protect it, because they could have a real severe pirate problem. And then you could, depending on how big your organisation is, you could send out a section or subsection of your organisation, say 20 people on board of 4 ships, to just take positions down this trading lane and allow everything to run smoothly. Again, that is such a big question and a great answer. So as an organisation, you'll have to distribute your manpower appropriately, and your ship power, obviously. So the question after that is, will there be quarantines on planets? So medical quarantines, and if so, would the medic position be called in to help? Could smugglers, pirates break these quarantines and pass on the plagues, etc.? And the answer is that there will be things like quarantines on planets. In a way, they'll be sort of like medical disasters, which they do have planned. He did say it's a cool idea, I think relating to like the pirates breaking through. But yeah, like say like a planet has an outbreak of a disease, then medical goods will be required. So maybe medics will have to fly down there. He didn't specify whether or not you could go down as a medic with a gas suit or whatever, you know, like those nuclear, biological and whatever suits. He didn't say anything about that, but it's a possibility. I wonder if you could go down and help them out. But there will be blockades to stop people from trying to break through. He did say as far as breaking quarantines that they're not sure yet, but game masters could do this, but it won't be systematic. So there's a possibility, and again, it sounds like it's one of these down the line sort of things, so not the first iteration of the PU. So the question after that is, will there be something to the effect of an FPS sort of dungeon instances, where like a 5-man team enter a Vandal mining station, for instance, or an arms factory, and either stealthily or they just kill everything that moves on their way to the objective? And he says yes, absolutely, it is instanced. He said it's a core part of the PvE FPS gameplay, and they have a cool mission system. They've been coming up with one, and it's not just going to be one-off scenarios. They'll all be linked with other missions. There'll be like NPC boss systems as well they've got, which is, he said, very similar to Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system. They are using something like that, but it's better, they say. So global characters can become like mega dangerous characters, and they say it's like such an awesome design for that. So it'll also work into the economy. So maybe you go to a set of ruins and you're jumped by grave robbers, or you go to a derelict station and then a pirate will attack, and it's, you know, ground and space, solo and co-op. He says it's a great system. Again, I'm not too sure about it all myself. I don't know how it all works, but they have something set up, so it's going to be awesome, he says. So the next question, which is quite a simple question, is how are the Tarian coming along, which is the fourth or the third sort of alien race we know of. Well, the fourth, well, we know of the Banu, the Xi'an, the Tarian and the Vandal, and the Tarian and another friendly group. But he says, so far there's nothing yet, they're all in concept. He did say that they are too close to the Jan, and as they're not in part of Squadron 42, they're sort of pushed to the back burner. They're not needed. Once the Vandal and the Jan are done, they will move on to them, because the Vandal and the Jan are apparently in Squadron 42, which I suppose confirms that. But yeah, he says they're going to have to really look at the Tarian race again and just sort of reassess it, because it was just too close to the Jans. So, the final question. What tools will organisations have to manage fleet? Now, we've had this question before, and it doesn't specify exactly what tools, but he says there will be web platform tools and tablet and mobile platform tools. He says the organisation leader can manage members, receive money, he can give money, he can set up jobs, he can control the ship distribution, and also in-game you can use the Mobiglass to do it as well. But he did say that it can be run like a business, which I think is very cool, because I do tend to do that with things, especially like Euro Truck Simulator or something along those lines. So he did say you can run like it a business and treat it like a business, and it'll be first web-based, then it'll be in-game based, and then obviously we know the sort of the tablet edition, so it'll be that last. Anyway, that's 10 for the chairman. Let's get on with it. So, on to Around the Verse with Sandy and Ben, and they started off by pointing out that we have reached the $72 million stretch goal, which is insane. As always, they mentioned about the new international store opening up, which is why we have to be charged VAT, and the prices have unfortunately gone up considerably, but there are benefits. Now, in regards to PAX East, they are sharing a booth with Logitech, but there will also be a Saturday night party and presentation with some giveaways, they say. So, starting with news from Around the Verse, starting with Arena Commander, the new ship skins are complete, and we have the UEE, the Pirate, and eventually Project Pitchfork. Now, these skins are only for the Aurora at the moment, but obviously down the line they will add more skins for more ships. So the tutorial map has been prototyped. This will be the tutorial for everyone to see on how to use Arena Commander. Again, I'm not going to bother doing my own tutorial for the moment, just to see how good this one is. If it covers everything, then what's the point, really? But that should be out, well, that should be coming soon, they hope. The power throttle in the Aurora HUD has been implemented. Now, I'll be checking this out, and I'll hopefully, if it's working now, I'll show you. If it's not working, then I won't show you. But that looks pretty cool, and this should be something we should see in other ships down the line. So, Squadron 42. The Skydock is going through its second iteration of concept. This is apparently one of the Squadron 42 set pieces. I'll show you the image that we have. It looks very, very interesting. To me, it looks like a Vandal ship factory. I don't know, it could be a UEE factory, but we shall see. So they say the ship stretching and warping effect has begun visual effects, and this is the quantum travel effect. Now, we may see some of this later in the sneak peek. Please stay tuned. So, Persistent Universe, the foot and headwear options are being explored. So this is your clothing. So the repair drone models have been completed, and these will be used for flight repairs, and also there'll be things used for surveying minefields. And a research system is being developed right now as well. So all these different drones are what you can use. There'll be manned drones and unmanned drones. Very cool. You get out your cockpit, go over to your drone, get in there, and it'll have its own little unique uses and so forth. Very, very cool. So the marine model has received concept and revisions, and the first look of this marine model should be an FPS module, Ben says. So that should be coming March time. So ships. The Avenger thruster malfunction has been addressed, or is being addressed. The 350R indestructible issues are being investigated. So I assume they just do not explode at all. So he says he does apologise to the 350R owners. They will explode eventually. Constellation turret, neck and cargo areas are receiving additional work. And this is all ready for the big revision for the 2.0, which is the multi-crewed ship module. So if you're an owner of the Constellation, they will be having some work done to them for the better, I expect. It's just so that they can allow people to walk around the environment of the ship without clashing with things and so forth. So they're having to make it a bit more streamlined. So FPS, 0G crumpling animations have been added, and they didn't mention anything about this, but with the new January monthly report, it explains that the crumpling is out of the legs. So when you are flying towards an item, you can crumple your legs to push off again, and it'll be procedural as well. I'll probably end up saying the same thing when I do the monthly report part, but it's all procedural, so you can do it wherever. There's not set places where you can push off. It's everywhere, which is very cool. So traces and impacts for pistol have been cleaned up. And yes, there are so many different types of ammunition, so there's a lot to be done there. So after that little segment, we went to Austin with Mark Skelton and Jenny Varner, who are doing a walk around the Austin studio, which was apparently asked of from the community, because they never actually showed us their offices. We've seen the LA offices, so it's about time. Anyway, they did a little walk around and showed us all the different areas and places where they're working there. Really cool office, actually. But yeah, check that out if you're interested. Now, there's a new section where James Pugh chats about this new Kickstarter project, which is called Underworld. To me, I've never heard of it, but I think there'll be a big fan base for it. So if you want to see that, I think it's actually on the YouTube channel there, on the Star Citizen YouTube channel, a separate video of it. So check that out if you're interested in that without having to go through the Around the Verse. So they also mentioned that the RSI Museum will be back next week. It's a cool little segment. I look forward to that. And the most valuable post is someone called Anti-Squeaker, who has done an in-fiction post with Drake into Planetary suing Origin Jumpworks. Apparently they think that Drake think that the Cutlass has been misinterpreted in Arena Commander. So that's a cool little post. I haven't read it myself yet, but I'll be checking it out for sure. So this week James was interviewing Rob Irving. Now Rob Irving was someone we saw a lot of before they did Around the Verse. They had a show called Wingman's Hangar. You can still find it now. It's all the previous ones, and it was nice just catching up with him. But it wasn't like a questions from the community type interview. It was more, what has he been up to, all that sort of stuff. So it was nice catching up with Rob Irving because he's an interesting character. Anyway, we went back to Ben and Sandy, who were battling it out in Arena Commander. And when they did the live stream a while ago, the one before Christmas, Sandy got her ass handed to her by Ben, it must be said. And so they've put this new section in where it's called Sandy Goes to Flight School, and you get to see Sandy being taught the basic flight controls. This is lesson 1, and it is using just the basic stick controls, which is, funny enough, the same stick I use, which is the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, which is the image when you go into the control schemes on Arena Commander in the settings, it shows you that little device there, and it's pretty cool. I've set mine up completely differently to theirs, but I use the keyboard as well because the thruster is a load of shite on that stick. Anyway, the sneak peek, as mentioned before, is the warping, and you can see a gladiator stretching into quantum travel. Very, very cool. This is probably how it's going to look. Anyway, that's it for Around the Verse. Let's move on to the monthly report. So, with the transition from January to February, as always, we get a new monthly report. So, it's kicking off with Santa Monica, the CIG studio. They have finalised the implementation of the paint scheme. We can now swap out different paint jobs for our ships, just like we could with the buggies. There are 3 available so far. You've got the UEE, the Pirate, and I think Pitchfork might be available. Might not be, I can't remember, but they look pretty cool. I may get the UEE one. I think I'm owed one for a previous stretch goal, so I'll have to wait and see what that looks like. So the development continued on missiles, countermeasures, and signal systems. Some features are still to come, like the emissive sources that can obscure sensors in like generalized areas or directions like nebulas or stars. An example they gave was it's harder to get a heat lock while flying next to the molten core due to the heat interruptions, and I wouldn't be surprised if also that terraforming beam may have a little interruption if you get too close to that, which makes perfect sense, and I think it's really cool that they're actually implementing something so cool like this into the game. They have been focusing on the item port system, and this system is how everything fits into everything and relays messages back to one another. So far we've only seen it in flight, but for the first person module, an example they gave was if you equip an energy pack into, say, port 24, it feeds into your suit energy, which can be drawn down by a personal shield in slot 15. So it's literally, you put one in there, it'll have an effect further down the line. So they're all linked up like a big complete piping system. And also the second example they gave is that if your EVA suit is low on power, when you sit in your ship's cockpit, you can plug it in and it will charge your suit off the ship's reactor, which I think is brilliant. I never even considered things like that. They are refactoring the implementation of the hood visors for the ships, so it's much more extensible, optimized, and completely unified and interchangeable with the FPS hood as well. So you can toggle between the ship's visor mode when sat in the cockpit to FPS mode when you sort of whip out your pistol. So when you get out your cockpit, the hood will change from obviously being your cockpit hood to being one that's based on combat or whatever role you are playing at that time. So they've tackled the design for prototyping of how cargo works, and this is actual in-game prototyping. This isn't just on the paper. This is exactly how cargo is going to work within the game, and I'm really excited to see this. We have had a little post about it, but it's nice to see it actually in working order. So they have kicked off work for 3 ships, but they mentioned that they're all redacted, and they also said that more were greenlit now and moving into the hangar flight ready phase, but they didn't specify which ones. So we'll just have to wait and see, but they did say that they are ones that we are all excited for, so God knows what it could be. So they've also been creating the shields that we have now seen. If you haven't seen them, go to the Voyager Direct store on the website. I'll show some pictures of them and I'll hopefully do a little review of a couple of them. But they're all different shields that you can attach with different effects, so forth, trade-offs. Very, very cool to see them implementing more bits. So, yeah, as I said before, they said some fan favourites. are high on the list of becoming flight ready. Whichever ones they are, we don't know, as they've told us they're all redacted, but it's going to happen soon. So they're working on improvements for the damage system, and they are vastly improving the fidelity and optimization performance, which in my opinion is vital for Star Citizen, because it is really going to test your hardware, as it is mine. So CIG and Austin, these are the PU team, and they are focusing on the props, the characters and environments. They have completed a few NPCs, which we will see in the social module around the ArtCore Plaza, including things like the medic, the bartender, and one bar patron. So it's not a busy bar. So they're concepting the communication relay to send information between or through jump points, which is a very, very cool aspect, and I look forward to seeing more about that. They have also finished modelling the repair drones, which will appear outside of space stations. Again, like these little manned drones we can get, these may be automated or they may be manned, they may be NPCs that go around fixing space stations as they're being damaged. They're concepting medical props and fountains found in Terra Tower. Now, something else really cool, if you don't know, a while back, with one of the stretch goals, they were able to get a real linguist in to design the languages, real languages, for the Banu, the Jan, and the Vandal. Now, or maybe even the Tarians as well. So they're at a point now where they can get a graphics designer in to create the alphabet. So they did say, and I quote, pretty soon, not only will you be able to speak Banu, but you can write it too. And I must say, as geeky as it is, I am probably going to learn these languages just for the sake of it, really. So yes, if we meet up at these events, I will be talking in Banu. So they have heavily discussed implementation of player occupations, and the first one that's coming up will be mining. We heard a little bit about this on the panel number 1. If you haven't seen it, I've done a video on it, just explaining all the information. It tells you a lot about the mining and all the different roles involved with mining. Check it out because it is such a cool occupation, and this is just one of many. So they have completed the proof of concept for multiplayer hangars. This should be coming in soon. I hope we'll be able to meet each other in our hangars. They have completed the initial back-end work for first version of in-game chat system, which again is vital because we don't want to just be left doing hand signals like a game of charades in our hangars. And also they're investigating methods to get more people into maps and the R&D on the economy server. So hopefully we'll have more than just, well, I think it was something between 50 to 100 people in each instance. Hopefully we'll be able to get more, and you can just see these huge scale battles, which will be amazing. So, Foundry 42, work progressing on the mechanics like the conversation system, takeoff and landing, the PAW, I don't know what that means, please tell me, looting and cameras. Also, missions are getting more layers of polish as they emerge from whiteboxing. So, episode 1 of Squadron 42 may be available to play, well, I think it's end of this year, but hopefully sooner. So landing and takeoff are close to being delivered in Arena Commander. Now what you see at the moment where you come down and your legs come out and then you land, which is still very rough, it will be a lot more polished. I assume they'll probably put in the auto landing as well. Although I must say I do prefer the manual. So they're also working on a tutorial for Arena Commander, as we know. Now they're making great work on Cutlass variants, the personal arc wielder as well, and work is continued on the Starfarer interior, and they did say more on that soon. So hopefully we'll hear more about the Starfarer because it's a big ship and it's been in development for a long time, so I'm really excited to see that one. So they're working on the Shubin Interstellar interior, which is set to grey box complete. There is a new base male, female, and base female head. They have also 4 test heads to send to 3 lateral, who are doing the mocap sort of facial animation, including a Shubin miner. So the Retaliator continued to be worked on, along with alterations to the Argo Rescue Utility Vehicle, which sounds very, very cool, and the Idris exterior meshing tests and Gladiator damage prep, because I know they're changing all the damage states, so the Gladiator is getting theirs done. So they started looking at the FPS weapons as well, and they are working on the Gladiator and the Gladius landing gears for flight-ready release, which must be one of the last things they need to work on to get that out to us. Behaviour, they are working on elevators and chat system, which is what we'll see in the hangar multiplayer. This is how we'll get between hangars, from hangar to hangar, is using the elevators. They're implementing the Mobiglass augmented reality, so that hopefully again we'll be able to play around with that when the social module or the persistent universe module comes out. So February's Teketsu model, I've never pronounced that. It's the little models you get in the display cabinets, is been developed, and they've also got a new line of flare for the future, which is being worked on now, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. So UI are working on the chat UI, the lobby work, and elevator UI, plus Mobiglass mockups. They have completed a prototype of in-game star map mockup, which again, I really can't wait to see the star map. It's going to be huge. They're working on the Prime Tower, Terra Prime's tower, and concepting Delamar's landing zone in the Nix asteroid belt. Also, they have finished the SimPod concept art and they have started production, and I really can't wait to see the SimPod. It'll be so cool just having it sat there in your hangar. So over to Ilphonic, and this goes back to Arena Commander where we mentioned the crumpling. They're putting the final touches on the zero-G push and pull system, so you can pull yourself along surfaces and also use your legs to push off. That will be the crumpling, and again, like before, it's all done procedurally, so you can do it from anywhere. It's not set locations where it works, it's everywhere. So, 2 new weapons have been hooked up. One large weapon, they say, which is capable of dealing damage to multiple foes, and another to take out enemies from a distance. Now, obviously the distance is the sniper rifle, but the multiple foes, could this be some form of rocket-propelled grenade, or maybe a grenade launcher, or something along those lines? Maybe it's a completely new system that we've not seen before, but they didn't specify, they left it to our speculation. Bless them. So, work continues on the HUD, and making the 3D radar system work for players who are currently in 0G. So this, I expect the 3D radar system will be similar to what we see in Arena Commander, where you've got these little lines going out to locations of enemies, etc. They are putting final touches on 2 white box team elimination maps. These, I expect, will be the first 2 we see in the FPS module coming up very soon. They are adding vents and crawl spaces to environments. I assume this will be mainly the FPS module environments, but it'll be everywhere, because these vents and crawl spaces you can maybe infiltrate, very much like Metal Gear Solid the first one, which was a brilliant idea where you crawl through these vents in order to gain access. Could be quite scary if it's anything like Alien Isolation, where if you're going through a derelict alien ship through these crawl spaces and then all of a sudden another alien is at the other end. Kind of scary really, but very cool. So over at Turbulent, they are continuing work on the homepage based on community feedback, which is good. They obviously need to make it so that veterans don't get pissed off with it and newcomers can get to grips with it quite easily, because it can be quite daunting when you come onto it and there's so much information and knowing where to start. They're working on the star map, answering questions like, where am I? Where can I resell my shipment of stimulants? And what is the safest way to go from GOS 2 to Stanton 1, etc. So there's all these different things that they are implementing into the star map, which will make our lives a lot easier when we get into the PU. So Moon Collider, who is responsible for the AI, they have a lot of AI improvements constantly, as obviously each module needs AI. Self-preservation for the NPCs, the AI NPCs, for example, taking cover and taking fewer unnecessary risks, which is very unrealistic. They're also working together as a group now and sharing information about player locations, performing flanking actions and covering fire, which is all really, really important. Last month the AI was tasked with defending an area, but this month they are designing the AI to hold a position and aggressively defend a specific spot, and intelligently then take cover and engage with enemies while moving. So again, all of this needs to be implemented well, because otherwise it can ruin the FPS. They have improved standard combat behaviours as well to make them investigate the last known position of a player. It says it needs improvement to make them coordinate as a group, and instead of them all going in at once, they're sending 1 or 2 people in to really just search the corners and so forth. So that was it for the monthly report. Let me know your thoughts on it all. Again, all this information is just being thrown at us. I need to know what your opinions are, so get it to me. Right, so as promised with every new stretch goal now, we shall get a design post full of information about a certain aspect of Star Citizen. This week, the design post was on shields and management. If you don't know, they have released, I think there was about 8 new shields available for purchase. I think they range from about 8,000 UEC to 15,000, all depending on the strength and their usage. So I shall go over what is in this design post and explain the shields to you. So there are certain types of shields with all different effects. For example, we have military, which is a high damage, high recharge, high power use and high signal. So everything is high. You have stealth, which is a low damage, low power use and low signal. And obviously, damage being the amount of damage it can take, power use is how much power it's using out of your ship's power plant, and signal being the emissions it gives off that other players can see. So you've also got civilian, which has everything pretty much even. You have racer, which has low damage and rapid recharge. You have industrial, which has high damage, low recharge, low power use and high signal. You have outlaw, which it says, this is what it said, weird stuff, vampire shields, flux shields, etc. Now, I don't know what all that means, but I'm sure it has their own particular usage. So there's different manufacturers as well. So far we only have what we see here, but I expect there will be more eventually. So we have the military manufacturer, which is your Gorgon Defender Industries. The stealth manufacturer for shields is the Assertion Astro, or Lightning Power Limited, which is in brackets. I'm not sure if that is the same company or just 2 different ones. Civilian, which is the Seal Corporation, which is an average shield manufacturer, which is actually what they've released for us to buy now. It's all Seal. And also Bearing for Civilians, which is the high-end shield. You have Racer, which is made by Yorm, Y-O-R-M. You have Industrial, which is Basilic. And then Outlaw, which is Sternen Katzen. So all these are different manufacturers who create these shields for particular uses. Now, there are different styles for the shields. You have your rapid charge, which is a low recharge delay, so it doesn't take long before it starts recharging, and a high recharge value, offset by weaker base shields with lower HP. For example, your Yorm Racer. So you also have durable items, which is reinforced components with strong component HP and boosted shield HP at the expense of a higher signal. For example, like Civilian, your Bearing or Seal Corporation. There is a second skin type shield, which improves overall damage absorption with a higher power draw, like your military Gorgon shields, for example. Now there's also the hard light style, which is substantially improved shield HP and absorption with increased heat generation, again military style. So they chose Seal as their first shields to manufacture and put out to us. And you've got the ink mark, which represents direct damage, or you've got the ink splash, which is filling the splash damage role. So each is designed against a specific type of incoming damage, and you'll hear it related to either direct or splash. Now direct is better against just direct firepower, so straight at you, kinetic energy or distortion, whatever it is. And splash is better against things like missiles. So, if you are having trouble with missiles, you would choose a splash one. If you can dodge missiles quite well and you prefer to go head to head with people, then obviously the direct damage is more appropriate. And I think I seem to play more head to head. I will spin on a coin and then just go straight for them. Plus, in Vandal Swarm, for example, you don't really get much missiles shot at you, whereas in the online multiplayer you do. So, there's swings and roundabouts, obviously. So the shields that we have available at the moment, they are literally just the start, as there will obviously be many, many more, plus all the different variants from different manufacturers. But it's also the very beginning of all these ship components. Now, whenever they release a new component, it's going to be pretty much a similar approach to what they've done now. They'll start with a few variants, allow us to get used to them, allow us to use them and report back onto whether or not they're good, they're bad, how they work. And then obviously these variants will grow within time. So they're also working on increased level of control. So you can manually prioritize shields and eventually use presets to switch between them quickly, which is brilliant. It's so useful. So it's sort of like a macro setting. So the more advanced kits can throttle power for individual shield faces. So you obviously have your front, back, sides, maybe top, bottom, whatever. And something that I quote, it says, "A ship decked out with high output shields, custom augmentations and shield boosting mastery can effectively run as a defensive screen for a military ship with maximum effectiveness coming from tight formations of focused players covering each other's blind spots." Now that is some really, really in-depth gameplay mechanics coming in there. It's not just going to be, think for yourself, put your shields up. You're going to have to really work together as a unit. I think the way I see it is similar to your Roman style, I don't even know what they call them, where you have your shields and the Romans used to protect themselves in a cage when arrows were being fired at them. It'll be something like that. You'll be all working as a unit, putting maybe, if you're on the right flank of your formation, you would put your right shields onto max, while as, your left flank would obviously have their left shields on and so forth. So you'd have a really good, powerful movement. To train this would take a lot of effort. So, shield management. Today's shields, and I'll show you in the background me just messing around with the shields on an Aurora LN. They're very basic. You can move it forwards to front shields, backwards, either side, or you can have maybe more to the front left. You can do so much, not a great deal though. So when the new Tomorrow shields come up, it says it'll premiere on the multi-crewed ships and then be added back to the single-seater ships. So the single-seater ships are not finalised, they will be updated with more in-depth shield management, but it allows a support crew member, so someone else on your ship, to manage both the shield generators and shield segments generated. So the shield management screen allows for more granular control over the generators, basically. Now, if you look at this image, it's the ship info section, and you have power usage, which shows condition of power plant, whether online or offline, total power points available, current idle usage, and potential power usage if all components are active. So the CPU usage shows the ship's CPU usage and loadout, whether again online, offline, total CPU styles available, and current idle usage and potential CPU load. So then you've also got the IR, the infrared and electromagnetic output, and each bar shows the current output that is being produced by each. Then you have presets, which has 5 presets available. I expect that'll vary within different quality shields to allow you to configure or recall a saved shield setting. So you can have completely off or completely on, or a variation of front, back, whatever sort of preset you want, you can set that so you can quickly switch between them. So there's also the generator info, which shows all the shield generators installed on the ship and allows players to tweak their performance. Again, new image. So for example, you've installed generators. In this example, you've got 4 shield generators, as you can see. If the generator is off and on, it'll show you with the cross or the details. It will show you if it's disabled or destroyed, also the current damage level of the generator. So if you click on one of them, it'll enlarge it and show you that chosen generator. It'll give you the name of the generator and the heat levels produced by that generator. So there are 3 areas for generator performance, and you can prioritize them as much as you want or as little as you want. So the first one is maximum shield points, or MSP. Now this is the amount of distributed power between all the shield segments, and if you increase the strength, it'll put more strain on your power plant. So the second is shield regeneration, or RGN, and it's the amount of points the shield regens per pip, it says. And increasing reduces the time taken to get the shield back to its full health when damaged. So shield recovery, or REC, when a segment of shield is taken down, it requires time to recover before the regeneration starts, and increasing this reduces the time it needs to recover before it starts regenerating again. So they give an example of how this can work, and there's 2 images, I'll put them up for you. Let's say your shield generator is capable of 100 shield points, and it recharges at 10 points per second and has a recovery time of 2 seconds. In the default position, the bars show 33% each. Now if you adjust the maximum shield points by 25%, the regen and the recovery decrease by 12.5%. So it is all about finding that balance. And yes, obviously 33%, a third all the way through, is your standard, I expect, idea. But then obviously, depending on environment you're in, say you're in an asteroid field, you might want it to be high damage, low regen, or vice versa. Same as what the racer has on his shields. Or if you're in a big battle, then obviously you may want more damage, less recovery time. It all is, again, swings and roundabouts, payoffs. So the shield segments, you can change the priority level. So you can prioritize a particular segment, be it left, right, front, or back. You can reinforce, and this will allow the segment to exceed its normal maximum limit by shunting shield points from other segments, but it is not that safe as it draws additional power from the plant. In a way, it's sort of like, this is why you may need to overclock certain things, but it could cause it to shut down. You can boost the regeneration of a segment by drawing power from the plant again. So something else that's really cool is that you can communicate with other members on board your ship in regards to shields. So let's say, for example, the example they gave was your turret gunner is firing away, but he takes a lot of hits and his shield goes down. Now he will report to the person in charge of the shields and say, I need some more power, can you give me it? And then the shield management officer, or whatever they're going to be called, must then reroute the power accordingly to cover them, but without taking it away from too much. Maybe they'll reduce the whole power a little bit to just give him enough. Again, it swings and roundabouts. You may not even need that turret. If it's going down, it may be a waste of time being there. Get him out, get him on a different turret. So there will be social panels, and I'll show you the examples. We've seen these before a while ago, but now they relate more to what we're talking about. And it'll show you requests from other players on board, and again giving you the idea of where best to distribute your power. So there's going to be a lot with this multi-crew ship. It's not just going to be, right, let's reload that weapon, you sit on that gun and fire. There's going to be more, far more to it than just that. So there's not only shields for ships. If you saw the FPS demo, and I'll show you this little segment again, shields can be used for FPS as well, and it's called the Quick Deployment Barricade, or Quick Aid, and this is carried on you as an item and then deployed where appropriate. So if you're setting up a blockade, you can then throw down a couple of shields, and they won't be able to take as much damage as your ship shields, but they are quick and useful. So also other shields can be found in hangar bay doors and other blockades within the ship structures. So this is just literally the start, they say, of the shields. They're going to be far more in depth, as we've heard of, and over time we'll start seeing more and we'll get used to using them. But it's important, if you get the chance to play with them now, get playing with them. Have a play around with your ship. Press the tab key while you're in your cockpit. Use your mouse to look round, then press home, and you can then use your arrow to click on certain things. I'll show you while in game, or I'll show you while I'm talking about it. It's very important to get to grips with this now, because there's going to be so much more, and there's going to be a greater learning curve if you don't play around with it while you've got the chance. So let's move on. So also this week there was 2 new Meet the Dev posts. The first was co-founder and vice chairman of CIG, Ortwin Freyamuth, and the second is the community content manager called Jenny Varner, who I believe is in Austin. There was a new booty call post called Cleaning House, which I am yet to read. There's also a new fan spotlight, which is called New Recruit Assistance, and this is from people in the forum who are helping new members who post in the forums with information about the game that they are searching for. There's a Galactic guide, which I must point out is my favourite of all the posts we get from Star Citizen. I love these Galactic guides. This one was on Squadron 214, which is the Bravo flight, and it's the history of the UEE legendary bombing squad, so check that out if you're interested. Very, very cool. Also this week the Arena Commander 1.0.2 was released. Now this brings new skins, new weapon, new shields, much more as well. I'll hopefully, if I get a chance, do a review of what's new. I didn't do one for 1.0.1 because when I was about to do it, I noticed it had mentioned that 1.0.2 was nearly available, so I thought I'll just wait for that. But it is all time depending, I'm afraid. And finally, the last post was regarding the skins, the shields and the guns. It'll explain you've got the UEE skin, the pirate skin, plus there's going to be the Operation Pitchfork skin, which I'm yet to see. There's 8 new shields and there's a new gun, which again I'll try and show off while we do the review. So on to the giveaway. As you most likely know, we were giving away the Mustang Gamma game package, and to enter this competition you had to be a subscriber and you had to comment thanking Robert below, who has provided us with the ships for the giveaway. Now I must have confused a few people, as we got a lot of comments specifically for Chris Roberts, who is developing the game, whereas I actually meant Robert Smith, who is a subscriber of ours who is providing us generously with these ships. Now don't worry, if you thanked Robert Smith or Chris Roberts, either way you were entered into the competition, and they both deserve a lot of praise either way as well, so no harm done. And the winner, luckily, was actually someone who thanked Robert Smith, so now showing you the comment is going to make more sense. And the winner is Consequence, and his lovely comment said, "Thank you, Robert. I know very little about you aside from your generosity, but if there is anything I can do to help you, please let me know. If you are a streamer, tell me and I'll check you out and throw a follow. If you do YouTube videos as well, I would love to see them. Either way, thank you, and thanks to the Super Mac Bros, or thanks to Super Bros, for the good videos." So thank you very much, Consequence. You are now the proud owner of a Mustang Gamma racing game package. If you didn't win, don't be downhearted, because we have another giveaway. Again, thanks to Robert, who is providing us with weekly ships to give away. So again, without him, we wouldn't be able to do it. But this week we are giving away the Mustang Omega, which is the 5th variant of the Mustang lineup. Now this is the AMD version, so the only way to get one of these was to buy an AMD graphics card with which you would be granted into the game with one of these racing ships. So with the Mustang Omega you get obviously the ship, you get the Self-Land hangar and the Arena Commander pass. You have a starting money of 1000 UEC, the digital Star Citizen manual, Squadron 42 digital download, which is the single player game, 2 months insurance on your ship, the full Star Citizen digital download once the game is released, plus beta access. And to enter this competition, you need to obviously be a subscriber to start with, and I want you to comment below with your racing name. So this can be your personal racing name, what you would like to be known as, a bit like a stage name, or it can be your racing team name. So if you have an organisation, or if you're thinking of creating an organisation dedicated to racing, what would you call it? So please put that below, and then you'll have a week to get your comments in, and at the end of the week I'll use a randomizer to pick out a random comment like I did this week and announce the winner on next week's show. So good luck. Star Citizen Sunday. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Star Citizen content. Like the video if you will. Comment if you've got anything at all to say. Share it if you can, and I shall see you in the verse.